Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ron Poertner from Winifred. I'd like to welcome everyone today and thank each of you for coming. I know many of you have traveled a long ways to get here, and we really appreciate our panel members for taking time to join in the discussion today about a new monument that sort of appears to be looming on the horizon there in northeastern Montana. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Congressman Denny Rehberg for being with us today and for organizing and hosting the panel discussion. You know, Denny understands how easy it is for government to impact a community, often with just a simple stroke of a pen. So it should come as no surprise to us that Denny was first on the scene to address the latest monument issue that we'll be talking about today. I'd like to take just a minute now to give you a little background on why we're here. I think probably everybody remembers earlier this year when a Department of Interior memo was leaked to members of Congress recommending 13 million acres for designation as a new national monument throughout the West. That particular document included 2.5 million acres for designation in Montana, with an additional 4.1 million acres mentioned in related emails between Department of the Interior and the World Wildlife Fund. And the World Wildlife Fund is a very large international organization. It was certainly a wake-up call for all of us, and of course Denny was right there to demand full disclosure of what was being planned by the Obama administration. And earlier this week, Department of the Interior finally released all the 21 pages of the secret planning memo. And believe me, if you haven't read it, it's a real eye-opener, and I would highly recommend everybody take a look at that document. It's on the web, and it's easy to pull down. So when you couple that 21-page memo with several hundred other documents and emails that Denny was able to get released several months ago, it's pretty easy to conclude that Washington, really their planning has gone way beyond just the brainstorming stage, especially when you see maps with designation proposals. And I know you can't see this, but when you start seeing maps like this from environmental groups that circle boundaries, prescribe proposed designations, you know, you can understand why landowners in this area are getting pretty nervous. And I guess, you know, what upsets me the most is that the subtitle of that leaked Interior memo reads, "Our Vision, Our Values." You know, that sort of reminds me of a playground bully, you know, my bat, my ball, my glove, my rules kind of thing. And unfortunately, all this has an eerie resemblance to what happened in Montana 10 years ago, when in the waning hours of the Clinton administration, the president locked up over 375,000 acres in Montana when he created the Upper Missouri River Breaks National Monument. And at that time, you know, Washington officials promised, and I say again, promised to listen to the Montanans prior to making any decision on designation. But in the end, you know, the designation came, and, you know, there's not many folks here that would say that we really were listened to. And 10 years later, Senator Baucus stated this past week during an interview on the Northern Ag Network that the Breaks designation was wrong. Breaks designation was wrong. And of course, all the 121 landowners in the Breaks say, well, that's great, but where was Max when we really, really needed him? So once again, we find ourselves confronted with a major land preservation initiative out of Washington, and we hear the same promises now from Interior Secretary Salazar, who stated at a Senate subcommittee hearing that he would guarantee a conversation and dialogue with local citizens before decisions are made regarding the new national monument. Well, Denny is here today because he wants to hear where we stand on a new monument designation for Montana. He wants to hear what our concerns are, to learn what impacts a 2.5 million acre monument could have in northeastern Montana, and to carry our message back to Washington. And I know this is a busy time of year for everyone, and we want to try to keep the meeting to an hour if we can. So the format today is going to be pretty darn simple. I'll introduce our panel members, who will make a short presentation on their concerns about the monument issue, and then we'll open it up for questions from the floor for the balance of that hour. And if we run over a little bit, I think we can probably handle that. So at this time, I'd like to introduce first our panel members, and we're in no particular order, so just if you would, just kind of raise your hand on the panel so folks know who you are. First up will be Matt Knox from Winifred, who ranches in the Missouri Breaks Monument, and he's chairman of the Missouri River Stewards. Leslie Robinson, she's Phillips County Commissioner. Leslie and her husband Jim ranch in South Phillips County, where they border federally owned land, including the C.M. Russell National Wildlife Refuge. Art Kleingen, Blaine County rancher and former Blaine County Commissioner. Art was also a core team member of the Upper Missouri River Breaks National Monument Planning Team. Dana Darlington, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Dana Darlington, landowner in the Big Sandy area and ranches inside the Missouri Breaks Monument. Dana is also chairman for the Big Sandy Conservation District and chairman for the Missouri River Conservation District Council. Lee Cornwell, owner of the Cornwell Ranches from Glasgow. Mike Ero. Mike's a Phillips County rancher and president of the Phillips County Stock Growers. Johnny Schultz. John is a Grass Range rancher. John just celebrated his ranch's 100th anniversary this past summer, and he is also vice chairman of the Montana Public Lands Council. And Sean Garrity, president of the American Prairie Foundation.